You ready?
Yeah.
Right. So we spoke about Rise before, and I remember you telling me
Ain't fucking with me when they got like money.
Real Florida shit. When you hit me,
I confidently can say I'm a barber.
So that we don't cheat on each other. I can't stand you.
And everybody still says it.
Like every project I improve. I got this record, and here's the story behind the fucking record.
Yeah, it's called Before I Jump.
Nigga, don't try to music to play on the radio.
Man, someone I know for a long time. First met you as Gatsby. How did I first get put on to you, bro? I think
I came to Fort Myers.
You did.
That show was amazing. That was a dope show. Yeah, we were out at Fort Myers. That was what.
Yeah, it was you who Wilson too, right?
Wilson was there. It was me, Wilson, Nash, and Dez. Dez came with me, I think.
Damn, that was a long time ago, bro.
A minute. Yeah, bro. That was wild.
I mean, you did an interview probably what, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think that was before I did
By Any Dreams.
By Any Dreams, yeah.
But since then, you kind of fell off a little bit. Kind of been in the tuck.
A lot of it.
No,
let's be real.
I was trying to be cordial.
No. Like it's cool because I know what it is. I'm not here to false flag, pretend about nothing. Like I know exactly what happened, and I know diminishing returns. I get it.
So let's get into that. Like what exactly happened?
Man, I basically burnt myself out, but at the same time, I was also dealing with some illness. I guess the best way to start this story is to go backwards. We dropped Starship Jericho back in 2014.
And fire, by the way. Still remember that?
Yes. Shout out to Dwight. And in 2014, I did 30 shows or something like that, while working full time.
Right.
And like I just kept being in pain all the time. Blah 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 blah.
Did you know what it was about, or you just?
I didn't know what was going on at the time. But ended up going to the hospital a few times. And I really dropped the ball with Starship. And just because, we came out with the project, we dropped the video, and then nothing came afterwards.
There was like no headlining show or anything?
Well, I did a headlining show. And then I got put on the very first Rolling Loud.
I remember that.
Which was interesting, just for the simple fact that like when I performed like in between Post Malone and Wi-Fi.
I think Pay Up was on that one too.
Afterwards, I remember like Wilson was like, "Yo, you look sloppy. Maybe you just need to you need to take a break or whatever."
Yeah.
So the momentum kind of died afterwards, and I think I had everybody's attention with Starship, and I just really let it fester away. But I wasn't feeling good, and I really wasn't talking to anybody how I was feeling, whatever, blah 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 blah. So fast forward, ended up dropping Nothing 2015, and we started working on Heel TV. I was real angry, I was real jaded, I was real blah blah blah.
Angry at what? Just life period?
Just life. I wasn't really being very self-aware about things, and Heel TV came out, and we thought that we were getting a lot of the momentum back with Heel TV. We were putting out videos, all this stuff, and then my grandma died. Mm-hmm. And that just spiraled everything out of control. So like in between that, I ended up going back to the studio and making By Any Dreams, kind of annexed myself. I wasn't really talking to people, blase, blase, blah. I wasn't doing shows like I should be doing, blase, 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 blah. I'm still in a lot of pain, blase, blah. By Any Dreams comes out. It's looking like it's doing well. I get diagnosed with sickle cell like a month later. December 17th, they told me that there's something irregular with my blood. Mm-hmm. They were going to do more tests. In January, I found out I had sickle cell.
Now, sickle cell, what exactly? I know it affects your blood, but how does it affect?
So basically, sickle cell is a disease that affects primarily minorities, African people, people of African descent.
Yeah.
It was.
But do you know why? why just particularly?
Well, it came about because it was a defense mechanism. The body naturally adapted to defend itself from malaria. So I'll never have malaria, but but on the flip side, it's just this debilitating pain, and depending on like if you get certain traits from your parents, that will determine whether or not you have it. So like I got one trait from my mom and one trait from my dad, and at the time when I was born, where I was born in Hawaii. Population of African Americans in Hawaii is very low, so at that time birth testing for sickle cell wasn't really non-existent. Non-existent. So it just went untreated and undetected my whole entire life. But I've been in pain forever, to the point where like I just thought it was a normal thing. Like when I ended up going to see a hematologist who specializes in sickle cell, like he just asked me about my daily routine, and I was like, yeah, man, like I wake up like 45 minutes before I actually wake up. Like I wake up and I just sit there, just kind of like let the pain like kind of leave my body or whatever. So
how do you think that's normal, bro? That's wow.
Because this is the thing. Like I've been in pain for so long, and I feel like I was having seizures when I was in high school. And gotcha. I had went and got tested and got misdiagnosed, and then told, oh no, you're fine, you're perfectly healthy, when all they had to do was a particular test to eliminate all ideas and quandaries of what it could be, and that test was never done until I was
a full adult already.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where we're just like, oh well, maybe I just need to exercise more. Maybe I need to change my diet. Or, at one point, my partner at the time was like, maybe you should just like cut meat out of your diet, and you'd probably feel better. And I was like, all right. I was a pescatarian for a few months, and like that made it worse because like I wasn't getting certain nutrients, and then like I ended up in the hospital on Christmas. Like it was crazy. I just kept trying to do things that I thought that I wasn't doing to better myself, but it was something internally that was just not going to get fixed.
What does sickle cell do to your blood? Like
it sickles the actual hemoglobin. So everybody should have like red blood cells that are circular and malleable, and they move around the body in order to stop like to clot your blood correctly, and if you cut yourself, they're supposed to rush there, make scabs, all that, and then they just traverse your body normally. Mine sickle, so it's painful, like as it's traveling through.
So it hurts your whole body, then, kind of.
I explained it to like if you had like traffic jams in your body, that's probably the best way that I could explain it.
And there's, from my understanding, there's no exact cure, right? There's only treatment, but not like a definite cure.
There is a particular treatment, which I had interviewed for, but the risk is really high. So it just depends on how bad your, I guess, quality of life is, whether or not you'd want to pursue the treatment or not, because you might die if you do it, type thing. So yeah, there's no treatment. They tell everybody, you can get on chemotherapy, and that'll help. But that almost killed me, legitimately. Yeah. So
okay, so you get diagnosed with sickle cell.
Yeah.
You went into chemo, right?
Yeah.
You started taking chemo. So I have some experience with, well, not me, but I had a brother who was diagnosed with leukemia, and he went into chemo, and I forgot how long he was doing it, but
did they have him do infusions, or did he do it with the pill?
I think it was infusions. From my belief. Maybe I'm wrong, but weekly I would see I would literally see him deteriorate before our eyes, right? Like, he would get real skinny, he lost all his hair. He started his eyes had the sunken, yeah. And I never got to speak to him about this because he was very young when this happened. But if you can shed some light on what is your mind state when you're going through all this stuff?
It was horrible, man. I mean, I'm already like, I guess, small statured. I mean, I'm tall, but I weigh 132 pounds, right? When I got diagnosed, I weighed 134 pounds, and that was January of last year. I started chemo in February. I was laid off because of the chemo in March.
How was that layoff? Were like
They
at least somewhat sympathetic, or they were just like, hey?
I mean, they were sympathetic, and I mean, my boss was kind of cool about it. It was one of those situations where, you know, he was just like, I think you need to do this treatment if they think it's gonna enhance or save your life or whatever the case may be, but you obviously aren't able to work here. You're not reliable for the things that we need you to do, and I mean, that's not your fault, but. And he was just like, you know, I know money's gonna be tough for you. You got your own apartment and all that, blah 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 blah. And at this time, I was living alone. And he was just like, well, the last 2 weeks of March, just finished. Well, you wanted me to finish up my files, and then like the last 2 weeks of March, he was like, just go home. I'll pay you until April, and then, you know, good luck. And then, you know, if you get healthy again, we'll see you on the other side.
Right.
But that's not what ended up happening. I eventually got worse and got worse. And certain things were subsiding, like the actual pain aspect, being in pain all the time, 24/7, was sort of diminishing. But then, like, I was getting other symptoms. I was throwing up all the time. Was lethargic. Wasn't sleeping right. And by the time I ended up in the hospital in June, I actually ended up going. I blacked out the day Prodigy died, and I ended up getting up. I was back home with my parents, and I went to my mom, like, yo, something's like not right. I kept feeling like this knocking in the back of my head. So we went to the ER, and it weighed me. I was like 91 pounds. And for me to lose 40 pounds in the span of 4 months is
it's crazy.
Real crazy. And they ended up telling me, like, yo, like, normal percentile somebody's supposed to have a hemoglobin in their body is like 14. Like, they have like those measuring was like 14 for adult man, and I was at like 3.4, and they're like, if you wouldn't have came in here like a few more days, you would have been dead. So I spent about a week in the hospital, just getting platelets and blood pumped back into my body, and then I had to go back 3 weeks later to do it again because the residual damage of the chemo was basically stopping my body from producing hemoglobin altogether.
And how does hemoglobin affect your body? Like, what is exact?
I mean, it's the basis of blood. Like, so like if you don't have any hemoglobin, you can't make any blood, right? I was hemmed up for a moment. Yeah, man.
What is? I'm not gonna lie, that's some depressing ass shit, bro. So it's like, when you're going through all this, right? I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes, as impossible as it may be. Like, someone's telling me, like, hey, look, you're low on hemoglobin, sickle cell, going through chemo, lost your job, getting worse. Is there any point where you're just like, fuck it, right?
I actually didn't say fuck it. There was just this one thing that just kept going in my brain the whole entire time. So, Rolling Loud. I performed at the first Rolling Loud.
Yeah.
Second Rolling Loud, I was slated to perform. I was booked to perform. I didn't perform, because they ended up shutting down the stage. It got real wild when X did.
The Look at Me song?
It wasn't Look at Me. It wasn't Look at Me. It was because this was 2011. I love to see him run, and like the shit got wild, bro. It was nuts. Rest in peace. And I think that was one of the moments that like catapulted him. But I was supposed to perform, so like it was cool. Like I had like 2 bookings of Rolling Loud back to back, and the third year, obviously, I wasn't slated for anything. I didn't get, I fell off. I wasn't making music that.
Yeah, but I mean, you going through so much shit. Who get like?
Well, I care though.
Yeah, but you're fighting for your life,
but
bro.
I care because the one thing that kept me going for so long was music. Every single tragic moment or downtrodden moment that I've had in my life, I was able to turn into music in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. And to have been making music for so long and to use it as a coping mechanism in so many different ways, and then to not be able to do it anymore, it fucks with your soul. And I remember that year, I had kind of broke away from the group of people that I was with. And a lot of people were just like, man, like, you're going to bounce back, And the homie A1, another rapper from the area, we ended up kind of like standing off to the side and we saw Lil Wayne perform. I'd never seen Lil Wayne perform. And like, Lil Wayne was a big influence. I just cried. I was just like, and then he was like, bro, you're going to be back up on the stage one day. And like, every single time where like some fuck shit happened with the chemo going wrong or like not hearing the news that I wanted to hear or whatever, like I just had to go back to a positive moment. I had to go back to something that I was trying to chase because I'd been depressed for so long about being tired or being in pain or, trying to do all these things and then it not really panning out the way that I wanted to. And now, like, I'm dealing with my life. Like, fuck a career. Like, I'm about to die. Like, I can't lose now. So, I mean, it was depressing, yeah, but I just had to, like, hold on to something. I had to hold on to some type of dream or some goal or whatever. So, all that shit panned out. I ended up getting my like blood levels like back right, and they're like, all right, well, we want to try you at this level of chemo now, whatever. And I was like, suck my dick. I went back to school, and
you graduated too, right?
Graduated. Then I was able to like get a job. But before that, like it was like the most wild like few weeks ever because I went to WrestleMania.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I went to WrestleMania, and that was dope. And when I was at WrestleMania, I got the email contract for Rolling Loud. Wow. So I was like, yo, it's lit. And like I was working hard to like, show the right players and show the right people like, yo, I'm like getting big healthy. Like I'm gonna like be reliable. I'm gonna be able to make music. Blah 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 blah. So I ended up graduating. I had my birthday. I graduated. I went, performed at Rolling Loud, and came back to a new job, like in the span of a week and a half.
Before we go there, though, what was the time frame of like you being sick and being down and like the chemo and like how long did that last?
I mean,
it's like a year.
It was about. I mean, when I got the news in January, I was pretty devastated about it. So like, I got the news in January. I started chemo February, and like all through this time, like I'm going through a breakup. Wilson's moving, so like my right hand man that I've been like, he's going, to Miami. So like I'm losing like 2 people at the same time. I lost my job, and then like I had to move back home. Lost my apartment. Chemo's getting worse. Almost died in June. Had to do another transfusion in July. I didn't really get back to, I guess, a close place of as normal as you possibly could. Probably like October, November was kind of where I was like. So it was a solid 10 months of just fuck. Like it was not good. But then, you know, I ended up doing a little show. I came out with a little EP or whatever, and that was cool. Whatever. And like it was kind of like, you know, I'm trying to get back, but I still wasn't really sure about what I wanted to do with my musical career. It was more of a, when I put out You Know What You Did, it was more of a, yo, don't forget about me.
Right.
Like, just, it was whatever.
Your health starts coming back. Survive chemo. You're pushing through sickle cell. Rolling Loud. WrestleMania. Got a job again. And out of nowhere, you start talking about fucking Nelly to go. Dog, what happened? First of all, let's talk about that. Like, what's up? You just saw like an old Nelly video and we're like, hey.
Nah. It's just literally just one of those things. Like, okay, so after
all right, wait, hold on. So before that, where do you rank Nelly in your top list of all time?
Of all time? I don't know. I haven't thought that. See, like, it's very weird. It changes from day to day. You know, like, it depends on what we're talking about or what we want to break down, or right. You know. But I mean, Nelly got to be top 25. He has to be. He's the fourth highest selling hip hop artist of all time.
Nah, you're right. Top 25.
He has to be.
What about top 10?
Maybe, depending on how you wanna argue it. I mean, like, if we're going into like an idea of transcendent hip hop stars, so like we're thinking along the lines of like LL Cool J and Drake and how they are able to be in pop the stars, mainstream of pop, like. He's definitely top 5 in that argument.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, he performed in the Super Bowl.
Exactly. How many rappers performed in the Super Bowl?
No, probably none, except for him.
Did Jay-Z perform in the Super Bowl?
Nah.
Exactly.
I don't even think Eminem performed in the Super Bowl. Yeah.
These facts hurt. These facts hurt, but they're facts.
I mean, you know. I get it, right? I get it. I understand. With that being said, got a new single out.
Yes.
Nelly.
Yes.
Got a video coming for it, right?
Exactly.
So it's safe to say a new project is on the way?
A few different projects are on the way.
But like for that one though, like
but for that particular thing, yeah. You know, I was going through I had a recording session at like top of the year where I made some tracks. I had produced a few different things. I was working on some stuff for myself, but didn't really know exactly where it was going. And I was kind of making the Blanket Head project, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a step back from that. I think I've already made a whole bunch of albums. I've already did that a few different times.
Is this new album going to be depressing too, or is it
this
like...
is not? It's not. I'm not calling any of these things albums. They're just these like they're these sprints. There's these things of just. And no, it's not depressing at all. I don't. There's not anything about me being sick on the project. There's not anything about breakups, exes, deaths in the family. None of that shit. I'm not feeding into any more negative topics or negative aspects in my life. If I can't make it something that's positive or something that's fun or something that's me, like, then I don't want to do it. I feel like the first part of my career was me becoming Batman, and then me just delving into madness. Like, it just got darker and darker and darker, and that's not necessarily always me.
Yeah.
You know, like.
So this is like more like fun.
I mean,
not like in a corny way though.
Not in a corny way. It's not, but it's definitely lighter. It's more. I feel like it's more enjoyable. I feel like it's a lot easier to listen to Nelly than it is Vintage. And I mean, like, Vintage was a cool song, but like, it's just a different side of the dichotomy of me, you know. I'm really just trying to explore making good music. You know, I was in the studio with Jordan. Jordan produced the whole EP that's coming, and it was one of those things of we were just trying to make good songs, you know. It was really dope because I have notes of bars for days on my phone. He was like, yo, just give me your notes. So gave it to him. He read everything, and he tried to like read it in like a cadence. And I wrote it in, and then he would just build the beat around that, and I would just like rap. And a lot of the songs weren't even finished, you know, me writing it. Nelly, all I had was the hook and the first 4 bars. I'll admit it. Yeah, I got them figures. That was literally it. So like after him catching on to that cadence, I wrote the rest of the song there in like 4 minutes.
Yeah, that's fire.
And then we just kind of tweaked it, went back and forth. We're like, okay, maybe we should cut this part out. Maybe we should cut this. And then we really made the song just together. And then the rest of the songs that are on the EP were done in the exact same fashion.
I feel like you have like a very unique story, right? Like you have like a very unique arc with your storyline as not just the person, but also as the character, right? The artist per se. Like, you know, you had this, safe to say, like an explosive start in the Tampa scene. Kind of hit a little peak, got a little stride going. Then you kind of
just stepped off to the side.
Tragedy, right? There's like, you know, series of unfortunate events, tragic circumstances happened. You kind of hit a low, lower than low, damn near death in a way. And now it's kind of like the resurgence, right? I feel like only like mainstream artists go through these peaks and valleys. But so to see it on like an artist who isn't there yet, it's kind of like interesting to watch because you're not when these artists, when they go through these peaks and these lows, they have all this money and all this fame, and they kind of, maybe it's a little easier for them to, I mean, I don't know. I'm just assuming maybe it's easier for them to deal. But you being someone who you're still here, you're still at ground level, you still have to deal with like finances and like job, like all the extra shit. It's like, it really speaks to like your resilience and your character. You know what I'm saying? How you just keep going, and it's commendable, at least from my point of view. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I had a real good support system throughout everything, you know, between, you know, my parents and my girl and Wilson. I mean, even miles away, he's still calling like, yo, are you eating?
Yeah.
Are you like, are you listening to the doctors? Oh, you're not listening to the doctors. Why are you not listening to the doctors? Okay, you did the research. All right, fine. You know, like, so.
And I think that also speaks to Wilson's character as a friend. Wilson's a good dude, you know, from what I know. So it's very commendable. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this conversation.
Absolutely.
I feel like people will definitely take something away, and Nelly is definitely in the top 25. I'm convinced. And new music on the way, right?
New music on the way. To Live and to Rob.
To Live and to Rob. Heard it here.